Welcome to the iNetrepreneur Radio Show. We are so honored to bring you your host, the ultimate celebritypreneur, connecting businesses and celebrities worldwide. Winner of the Networking Organization of the Year, best-selling author, magazine publisher, trainer, and owner and founder of Network Together and the iNetrepreneur Media Network from magazines, TV, and radio network. We're excited to bring you your host, Mr. Robert W. Jones.
Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to the show today. And boy, it is already changing. The weather is starting to go up in temperature. We've had a lot of what we would consider cold, balmy, 40, 50, and 60-degree days and nights here lately, but we're starting to feel a little bit more heat, starting to see the 80s come onto our thermometers as we're driving around town or we're at home. I want to thank you today for being on our show. It is going to be a great show today because it's one of the things that I've had a passion about in my life, and that is real estate, whether it be commercial, residential, as an investment partner, or even a property manager. I've been in the real estate game for many years now, and I'm really excited to talk real estate and give an update on what we had from last year. So with my guests, each one of them has a different expertise, but I do want to talk about really quickly about a few upcoming things that we have. Right here in the bottom, I want you to, if you haven't already, go to youtube.com and put in iNetrepreneur Radio. That's iNetrepreneur Radio, and subscribe to our channel. So anytime that we go live, you'll get a notification of that, and you can come join us and join in the fun, the party, and festivities. Also, go to our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/iNetrepreneur Radio. Boy, that's how creative we are with our naming conventions when it comes to our digital footprint out there. And lastly, if you're a business, you're an entrepreneur, you're a real estate investor, etc., go to ntevents.net. That's ntevents.net. We put on over 1,000 meetings and events each year for entrepreneurs like you who are trying to grow and expand their business. So with that said, today our topic of the show is bringing the real estate heat. Why is the Phoenix marketplace so hot? And our first guest today is the esteemed professional, my friend, fellow colleague, Mr. Stuart Gifter. Good afternoon, Stuart.
Hey, Robert, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hey, absolutely. Great to have you as well. I am looking out there and I'm looking at what we have going on with the housing market. And, I'm going to talk a little bit about this with Katie in a bit. And back then, she was saying, oh, Robert, we've never been in this situation. We have only 12,000 homes in the marketplace. And I don't know if we're going to get you in the home, but I know we can sell your home. And I remember, and I was teasing her before the show. I said, yep, you did the voodoo magic to get us into one house and in the other. And she says, exactly, voodoo magic. That's what I call it. But it's not just for people who are looking for an owner-occupied house, is it, Stuart? We're talking about how is this in certain ways affecting the real estate market from an investment standpoint. Just speak a little bit about the history of our marketplace here, and go backwards a little bit to kind of take us to where we're at now and how exciting it is.
Well, I'll tell you, Robert, having lived in the Valley since 1987, I can honestly say that I've seen some real estate cycles where things go up for a little bit and then they've gone down dramatically, gone up, gone down dramatically. And so certainly right now we're in an upcycle. And so we know what usually happens after things go up dramatically. After a while, they go down. But I can tell you in the foreseeable future, with the way we consider our outside this country, outside the state of Arizona, we're considered very affordable housing. We get people coming in from California. We get people coming in from Seattle, from the Denver area, from the Chicago area, and they see what we pay for an average price for a house. They see what our average property taxes are. They see the cost of living in Arizona is so affordable. So we are a hot real estate market now, and certainly from an investment standpoint, I'll always say this: there's always deals. Whether you're in a hot market or a cold market, there's someone today that found that they got a job transfer and they need to move quickly, or a family member took ill and they need to move quickly, or So there's always opportunities regardless of the market.
Well, and Stuart, I mean, but there's many other factors that we've also still have never had in the history of our marketplace, and actually in marketplaces around the world. This last year we have had this thing called COVID that has come into our lives, and I know for myself personally, within a 3-day period, we went from an all in-person networking community to an all digital networking community. And talk about pivots. I mean, we're learning like whether there's Skype, and then there's Zoom, and then today we're using StreamYard, and I mean there's Trello this and Trickle that, and Dick and Jerry, and all this other stuff that we're having to learn. And then all of a sudden, it's forced us to really change our habits. But some of these dynamics, Stuart, it's like what does affordability look like, and what does hot look like to an investor? And it's like, I mean, we have people moving here from other states that actually are still working in like Illinois or New York, etc., but they're living here. How is that affecting the investment market for those who want to get into the game?
So obviously, those folks with COVID and your ability to work from home. So now it doesn't matter whether you're in the same town that your job is in, or whether you're in Phoenix, or whether you're on the moon. If you're working from home and you're working remotely, you can be anywhere. And with the weather that we have here and the cost of living, I think I looked at my thermometer today in my car. It's going to be like 75 and sunny. It's an enticing place to live. Now, from an investment standpoint, it certainly makes some opportunities harder to find, and some opportunities easier to find. So I think right now we're finding easier opportunities in the commercial world. You take a look at some of the buildings downtown where in historically pre-COVID, you maybe had a law firm or an accounting firm that used 3 floors to house their employees, and those employees are now successfully working from home. They may not need 3 floors anymore. So I think you're going to find some opportunities in commercial, but certainly with interest rates staying low and the demand for housing staying high, finding opportunities in housing is just a little harder than usual.
Yeah, and sometimes I think when things get a little bit harder, those who just work a little harder as well get to find the best of deals. And I think that that's what you do. Now, Stuart, you're also you're an instructor. You lead academy. You're a part of the iEntrepreneur Network Academy. You teach real estate investing to quite a few people each week. I do want to mention that. Could you tell us a little bit about the iEntrepreneur Real Estate Academy so they can also get a deeper dive in this information that we're presenting today?
Absolutely. I have a couple of tributaries to my business. One of the tributaries is that we raise investor money and we buy cash flowing properties. So just tied up 4 condos off 12th Street Northern in the Phoenix area. Just refinanced an 8-plex off 7th Avenue in Dunlap. My payment on that went from $4,300 a month down to $3,100 a month. Each one of those units rents for $1,250 a month. So we like buying cash flow opportunities, and then we teach those strategies. We teach those strategies, whether it's wholesaling, fixing and flipping, buying and holding, how to be a lender. We do each week at the iEntrepreneur Academy on Tuesdays, take the time to explain and break down into bits and pieces those opportunities and educate. And one of the things I say in every class, and I know, Robert, you appreciate this, is I tell people to put away their checkbooks, put away their debit cards. There's nothing to sell you. We educate on insurance. We have Mike Cogiat. He educates on, he owns the bank. I always comment on Mike Cogiat. He's one of the guests today, and you shall listen to him. He owns the bank. And so when you get to know a lender who owns the bank, that's a lot different than going through a loan application process, underwriting, all the garbage fees they put on. So we educate on how to become an investor or how to scale your existing business at the iEntrepreneur Academy.
Yeah, and right now it really is all about knowing your team, building your team, creating a situation, automating processes, and learning how to do things differently. And certainly that's speed. I mean, right now in the marketplace, if you are not in the right place at the right time doing the right thing, you will be left behind with those who have learned to adapt much quicker. What are some of the tools and strategies that you have learned in this last year that you might want to share with some of those that are listening on the show today?
Some of the basic fundamentals in investing transcend over time. When I was a kid growing up, you'll hear me tell a story that I used to watch this cartoon called Fred Flintstone. Don't know if you're familiar with Fred Flintstone, but he used to work down at the rock quarry. And I remember his boss used to say, good help is hard to find. And so it existed. Good help is hard to find. The concept back in the bedrock days, it exists today. And so the point being is the concepts stay the same. And so even though the market may change, the color of the flooring, the countertops, the color of the appliances may change, but the concepts stay the same. And one of the main concepts you need is surrounding yourself with excellent people. You want to surround yourself with rock stars, and everybody is a rock star at something. And so certainly you want somebody funneling you or being able to feed you property. And I know you have Katie on the show today, and so she would be an excellent resource for those that are looking for property, that are especially investors that are off market, surrounding yourself with a lender. My mentor once taught me that every deal revolves around the money. He would say, even the oldest profession in the world revolves around the money. And you got a guy on today that's going to own the bank. Being able to evaluate the property, being able to understand the marketplace, depending on what your strategy is, flipping, wholesaling, or buying and holding. Certainly having someone on your team, there's an expression you might have heard, you never get hit by the bus you see coming. And so my job as a coach or as a consultant, as an educator, is to prevent you from getting hit by the buses that you don't see coming, only because I've done it a couple times before and I already know what the next step you're going to need. So assembling a quality team, a mentor, a coach, a realtor, an investor, handyman, quality insurance people, certainly a good title company, all those resources play in to you being successful, because at the end of the day, Robert, it's really tough to do it alone. You can start by doing it alone. And when you start your own business, you start with answering the phone, raising the capital, writing the offers, walking the property, whatever it is. In any business, as you know, you do everything. And then as time goes on, you have to start leaning on people to help you with the books, leaning on people to start funneling you properties. So at the end of the day, you're only as good as your weakest link. And so you're right, Robert, your team is an essential component to your success.
Yeah, and it's amazing how the team has evolved, like you said. I mean, with me back when I was with Realtor.com, and even before that, when I was running property management, I mean, pretty much, what you did is you did site inspections, or you called your competition, that you saw maybe in the yellow pages. There wasn't really an internet to look at, and you had to do a lot of this through, menial processes, and that was like a yellow notepad, maybe a pen and a phone. And now, we're adding team members. We're constantly adding people who do digital marketing services, who know how to read the metrics through, the homes that are being bought and sold in our community. Those who, see off-sheet financing and being able to see, even homes that don't hit the MLS. And, then you also have other tools like LoopNet, et cetera, and even PropStream, that allow people to, savvy investors have to get in there, and they have to be really quick to the punch. And one of the things that I think that we lack thinking about is bird doggers are probably one of the most valuable team members. You don't have to have money necessarily to get in the game, and I think that that's what really separates a good team from another team, is having people who are really involved in just saying, hey, I may not even have the investment money wise, I may not even have the knowledge, but I certainly can keep my eyes and ears out, to help the other members on the team that know those, skilled type moves. Wouldn't you say, Stuart?
Well, I would agree with you. And you bring up a good point, Robert, and that is everybody comes to the table bringing something. So just because someone doesn't have any money, that's just an excuse to not get involved into the game. So one of the things that we structure, and we've talked about this at the Academy, is joint venturing, is partnering, forming strategic alliances with people so that you bring to the table what you want to bring. So I'll give you an example. I own some property with a guy named Art and a gal named Tamara. Art is a general contractor. Tamara is a bookkeeper. So I manage the property. Should the air conditioning go out or a leaky faucet happen, I reach out to Art. Art doesn't put me on his list of schedules of things to do next week or the following week. He gets to it right away. Why does he get to it right away? Because he's part of the team. It's partly his property too. And each month and every quarterly when we get distributions, Tamara does the books. And why does she do the books? It's not because she gets paid, but she's part of the team as well. So learning to form joint ventures, relationships, and partnerships, whether you have money, some people have money, some people don't have time. And I'll leave you with this. You go back to 08, 09, 2010, you could bought property on the courthouse steps for 30 cents on the dollar when the market crashed. 30 cents on the dollar. I saw people do it. But banks dried up people's credit lines. Banks took away HELOCs. So my dad would say, banks will give you an umbrella when it's sunny and take it away when it's raining. In today's world, there's plenty of money on the sidelines. So money is no longer an excuse. The challenge is finding your properties. That's why people like Katie and Mike become so important, because they are on the front lines getting those phone calls, researching those properties, bringing them to the marketplace so people like me, you, and others can then pool our resources together and create more success stories.
Well, and I just love how, necessity sometimes is the mother of invention. And Katie just put into the chat with us. It's like, we always think of fix and flips and how much money we have to spend and how much time, is it going to be before we can get it to the marketplace in a livable condition? Is it going to have asbestos? Is it going to have mold in the walls? Is it going to have a cracked foundation, et cetera? And she said, kind of a boutique industry that's coming up is just buying the new builds, making them, very renter oriented and saying, let's pass the fix and flip and let's just get into buying homes and renting them out. That's another area that even may help from affordable factor for people who can't put down that 20% down payment or whatever. So I think that there's a lot of creative ways that people are really, finding real estate. And right now there may be, I don't know, 4,100, 42, 4,300 homes on the market, but that they're still on the market. We didn't say 2, 3, or 4 homes. So, there's still some room. Is it as affordable? Maybe not, but is there good deals to be made? Absolutely. Stuart, just give us any other ways that we can get a hold of you for more information or to set up a consultation.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to chat with people when we're done with the show. Here's my contact information. I know it's scrolling on the bottom, but my phone number is pretty easy to remember. 480-443-4500. 480-443-4500, and my website, stuartgethner.com.
Well, you know what? I think I'm going to learn. I'm going to get that number in my mind and create a jingle for you, Stuart, because I think that is a great number to like play, in commercials or something like 480. Da, da, da. And so I'll think up something for you. Well, Stuart, thank you so much for being on the show today. You are a wealth of information. You really care about your students and your clients. And say hello to Stephanie for me, please.
Thanks, and I appreciate. Thanks for having me, Robert. Thanks for having me. Bye.
You bet. Bye bye.
Network together. It's all about connections. Expand your sphere of influence. Build relationships. Be part of something bigger. Be part of Network Together.
I really want to thank Stuart Gifter for being on the show today. I know it may seem so canned to say that he has a heart for his students, his clients, and the people around him. He is really here to give and serve to others, and he just does it by the vehicle of real estate investing. We didn't bring it up on the show, but he is a former pharmacist, and he got dismayed by that industry, and he really just sat down and said, I'm going to pivot to this whole new world of real estate investing because he wants to see people, thrive with real estate, because it's one of the ways that we can create an impact for ourselves and our family and create another form of legacy. And speaking of legacy, someone who's really helped with my family from a personal, professional, and if there's standpoints in between, she has done that for us. And I'm really excited and happy to bring to the show Miss Katie Evans. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you. Yeah, not just a realtor, family therapist, marriage therapist. We get to wear all those hats.
Oh my gosh, I can remember you sitting down multiple times in our living room without masks, by the way, and hand sanitizer, back then, sitting down, and you're sitting down with Sean, you're sitting down with me, you're asking us our goals, our inspirations, our desires, and whatever. And I'm thinking, like, is she a realtor or is she a shrink? So, I wasn't sure if I thought, man, am I making a good decision here? Because this certainly sounds kind of, going back to that voodoo magic, Katie, right?
Voodoo magic. It's actually all about understanding your client and what their needs and their wants are, and hearing what they really are saying beyond the words. So a good realtor can learn how to do that.
Well, a good realtor can learn how to do that, but a great realtor lives to do that. And see, that's what separates you from, let's say, and I don't want to say it like other realtors, but I'm going to say it. It's what separates you from other realtors. And it wasn't about this one trick pony with you and I. It wasn't where you created a relationship with me and then, created a relationship with Sean, and then all of a sudden, a few minutes later, you were a ghost of this. You constantly reached out. You constantly remained in content through many different ways, whether it be an email, whether it be a snail mail, whether it be a phone call, whether it be like, hey, would you like to reevaluate your house? Has your situation changed? But never did we feel like there was a certain amount of pressure that said, you were coming on too strong in every other way. The other things that we really liked you, and I guess you don't get to brag about yourself because I'm going to do it for you right now.
I appreciate that. It
Yeah.
means a whole lot more coming from you.
Yeah, and the other things too is not only your personal, but you also create a wraparound with your services by utilizing technology. And I think that right now, I mean, we're in this marketplace where Phoenix really is the hotbed of real estate.
Yeah.
To some of us here who are working and living, it may not be quite as affordable as we'd like, but certainly with all the people that are either moving in or just moving here, but working remotely from their jobs from somewhere else, I mean, Phoenix is really like a boon to them. Tell us a little bit about you. Let's go back a little bit of history in Phoenix as well as a residential real estate agent. And let's go forward a little bit to tell us how crazy this marketplace is.
Yeah. So I gotta tell you, I tell people all the time, I'm as close to being an Arizona native as you can be without actually being one. We moved from Dallas, Texas to Tempe, Arizona on my first birthday. And other than a stint away for college, where I looked at my husband and said, hey, I'm frozen, take me home. I've always been here. I've watched this valley grow from when we lived on Val Vista and McKellips. That was the edge of the desert. Like, we were on the edge of nowhere. Where I live now is where we were having our high school desert parties. And of course, the valley has just expanded in every which direction since the time I was growing up. And I've loved being a part of it. I've loved watching it. I've loved seeing our great valley develop. So I really appreciate what Stuart had to say earlier, actually, about how Phoenix is still a very affordable market across the nation. Now, those of us who've lived here for a long time are choking a little bit because we're kind of concerned about seeing the values go up so much so fast. And also, when you're looking at people coming in from other states, they're looking at us saying, oh my gosh, this is great. So we are watching the Arizona market as residential agents very, very closely, because affordability is becoming an issue for those of us who are longtime residents, who this is where we've grown up and this is not what we were expecting. What I also kind of real quickly want to throw in there and address, Robert, is that a lot of people are waiting for the bubble to burst. And I'm here to tell you that right now, currently in the market that we're in, we are not in a bubble. And I have had a lot of people want to argue with me on that, and we can go into that further at some other time. We're in what is just regular economics. It's supply and demand. Has to do with household formation, people moving into the state, the demand, the builders not having built where they should have been building, the levels they should have been building the last several years because they got burned so badly in the recession. And so we have catch up to do now. And because of that supply and demand equation, the lack of supply and the increased demand is what is driving the prices up. And so there's no bubble. Nothing is going to happen there.
And people are now paying the tax, Katie. They're paying the tax in such a way that they never have before. And what I mean by that is people are moving here but working elsewhere. And that is all due to the way that technology has changed, the way that business has seen that they can have employees work out of rooms or work in the kitchen or work at a coffee shop. Things are being done remotely. Even hours of the business have become more 24/7. And, the tax that people are paying, both here and those who are coming in, that tax is the shoveling sunshine versus snow tax. And believe me, even my grandma said, she came here to retire. She said, it's a lot easier paying the shoveling sunshine tax than it is the snow tax. And I can see why a lot of people are coming into this area. And
Yeah.
it's not just that. It's we have good health care. We have a lot of parks. It's spread out. There's a lot of biodiversity from around Phoenix. I mean, a lot of people don't know you can travel an hour away, in some places even less, and you can get to a different microclimate within a few minutes. And you have Flagstaff, which is only 2 to 3 hours up the road, and it is quite amazing. We also have natural rivers, and people want to come here because there's definitely excitement in the Phoenix and Tucson area of Arizona. But tell us a little bit about when you say the marketplace is becoming less affordable, when you're talking about the supply and demand, simple economics, what does that look like in numbers? What has actually really changed? I mean, we can talk about how many homes are on the market. We can talk about interest rates. Maybe Mike will talk in about that. But, what does it really look like in just layperson's terms when it comes to am I able to get that house?
Okay, that is an amazing, awesome question. So just to give us a little bit of a reference point. So we were talking about the numbers in our office yesterday, and one of the other agents in our office kind of said, hey, have you guys even looked at the single family home numbers? So we're not talking land or dirt or any, condos or townhomes, but single family homes, which is the majority of what people want to purchase. Have you looked at the number for today? And when they had last pulled up that number, there were approximately 4,000 across the whole Arizona regional MLS system, 4,000 active homes for sale. So we haven't seen those kinds of staggering numbers ever. We haven't had that low of inventory ever. And so it does become quite a concern for those who are looking to purchase homes. Part of the other challenges is that those people that we would normally have selling their homes to open them up so that we had homes to sell, our people are like, but where do I move? So if they're not moving out of state, that is part of the challenge. So we as realtors are having to get really, really creative with our lenders, with our title teams, with our investors on how to make this happen for our clients. So I'm aware of one lender that has a program that they'll actually go in and buy the client's house so they no longer have that contingency, give them 6 months to purchase their next home and then pay them back on the sale of their home for that. Or if they can't find something, they have the option to actually purchase their original home back from them. So we're getting really, really some creative solutions out there in the marketplace. We're getting really creative, being that the sellers have so much power right now. We're seeing a lot of post-possessions, lease backs, longer escrow times to allow those sellers to go out and find the house that they want to buy. New builds is also a really great option for people as well. But the new build times right now, unless you can find a spec, we're looking at anywhere from probably 9 months to a year build out times on those new build homes. So we're just really having to sit down, talk to our clients, find out what's important to them, find what their timeframes are, and then find a way to make it happen. Now, a little bit of that voodoo magic for you. Again, we're pulling out all the stops. If they have narrowed it down to a couple neighborhoods that they're really, really interested in, we're door knocking. We're finding out like, hey, have you thought about selling your home? I've got a buyer. We're sending out letters to everybody and saying, hey, we've got buyers that want to buy your house. Have you considered selling? And we're just digging up wherever we can find something to dig up. We're creating our own inventory. We're having to get really creative about it right now.
Well, yeah, and we need the new builds. We need even areas of Phoenix which have kind of been neglected over the years. It's really nice to be able to drive through some of these neighborhoods and actually see some revitalization.
Yes.
I really do love the our fix and flip teams that are really finding some one good profitability, but they're also creating housing for families again, and families so that they don't have to actually live 3 hours from the center of Phoenix. I mean, so we're starting to see a whole conversion. I'm also seeing people buying homes and turning them into beds and breakfasts, for all of the opportunities that we have out here. A lot of people don't understand this about Phoenix, but Phoenix is one of the most spread out cities, the entire metro area in the world.
Yeah,
So
a lot
there's
of
still
small.
there's still quite a bit of land to build on,
Yes.
even within the city itself. So, there, like I said earlier, there's a lot of parks, there's rivers, there's a lot of fun things. Our schools, for the most part, are coming back, and I can say that I'm a proud Arizonan, and I've lived a lot of different places. And by the way, I'm from Dallas, Texas, too, Katie. So, even though you were there a year, hook 'em horns. But but as far as a realtor, one of the things that I was really impressed in, especially because this is a hot market,
Yeah.
a lot of people are like, what is my best move? And I know with me, personally, and my wife, we had to go from one house, and we had to be ready with barrels of cash in the bucket, ready to go into that next home. But not everyone is in that position, and talk a little bit about that creativity, and talk a little bit about your story as it applies to their story.
Yeah, so like I said before, we are seeing a lot of creative solutions coming on the market right now because the lenders are seeing it, we as the realtors are seeing it, the industry as a whole is seeing it. It's not just in Arizona, it's really across the nation. So we're seeing a lot of help coming to the buyers right now. So we're also trying to prep the buyers to think a little bit differently about how they buy a house. Gone are the days where, you know what, we're going to go home, we're going to think about that overnight, and then we'll get back to you and let you know if we want to write an offer. Okay, and it's going to be gone in the morning. And so we have to be prepared to jump a little bit quicker. Right now, I believe anything that is in the FHA guideline limit, so anything under about $370,000-ish, $370,000-ish, everything is selling above ask price. So if your maximum purchase price is going to be 350,000, let's just say, you're probably going to want to look at houses that are topping out about 325, so that you have some bidding power in there. You also are going to want to have a little bit more saved up other than your down payment and your closing costs, because you may need to be able to say to that seller, hey, we agreed that I would purchase your house at 350, and the appraisal may not come in at that price point. And so we might need to be able to say, hey, if it doesn't appraise, we've got an extra $5,000 that we can put at this. It might not get us or up to the appraisal price. And that at least makes the seller feel a little bit better about things, because we're seeing some crazy bidding wars right now. We're seeing some crazy construction of offers, a lot of creativity happening out in the marketplace right now, which can be scary if you don't have a real seasoned, skillful agent that knows what it is that they're accomplishing with the clauses that they're writing in your contracts. Those are legally binding. You can't go back and say, oh, oops, that's not what I meant.
Yeah, and lastly, really speaking into that, because I was getting really motivated on jumping in on you there. It's like, there really is a certain amount of pressure, because there aren't just two parties in the real estate process. It's not just a person who writes the loan. It's not just the realtor. I mean, this means everyone has to be what we call just in time. I mean, that means your inspection has to be on time. That means your home warranty needs to be done. That means, your appointments need to be kept. That means your pest control, whatever it is. That means any services. What is that? What is that clause called? I always forget it, but that BITA clause or something where it says you got to fix these things before I'm going to do it.
Oh yeah, your buyer inspection notice, seller response. So we call it the BINSR, but yeah.
Yeah, the BINSR. I mean, there's a lot of pressure, because it's not like just because the realtor is moving at a super fast pace. I mean, that doesn't mean everyone else gets to sit around on the couch, waiting around. I mean, there is a lot of pressure for the realtor to say, hey guys, if you want to stick and stay with this team, and if you want to take care of the clients that I'm bringing in, you need to hop to it, because if you can't, I need to find other people who are going to take care of my clients. And I'm sure you probably may have had to come across even that a time or two.
Oh, a lot of times when people bring in their own lenders, or bring in their own title companies, or bring in their own, you name it. Just to paint a good analogy for you, you can kind of think of your real estate agent as your quarterback. So they're the ones out there calling the plays. They're the ones that are making sure everything's corralled and correlated. And I know what you're doing, and I know what you're doing, and this is when you're going to do it, and this is when you're going to do that. The realtor really is the quarterback for the team. So you've got a whole team of people working on this transaction for the buyer and the seller on their behalf. And so that, in order for us to bring it all together, we really do have to have team players and people who are willing to be those team players. And so, yeah, when I work with my team, that's the first thing we do is we talk about, hey, Mr. Lender, hey, title people, hey, home inspector, we're pulling together as a team for our client. And we're going to make this the best possible experience for them, especially in a challenging market right now. And that's how we do it, and that's how we get it done. And we are having some great success out there in the market right now.
Well, Katie, I mean, I'm loving it. We're about the end of the segment of your show. I just want to make sure that people are able to get a hold of you and your team, because I know that you will take care of them. We have you scrolling across the screen here. Any other ways that we may be able to find or get in contact with you?
Yeah, you know what? Probably the easiest way that I always refer people to, of course, you've got my phone number and my email down there, but I would invite you to come over and visit our website. It is just loaded full of information. We've got video blogs, a preferred vendors list on that page. You can search for houses just kind of for fun there. You can get a preliminary estimate of what we think your house might sell for in the marketplace today, right on that website. So there's lots of great tools and resources for you there. So come on over and visit us there. It's www.living48realestate.com. So it's similar to my email, but just type out real estate in full, www.living48realestate.com.
And please, 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 before you go, what does the 48 stand for?
I love that question. You would be surprised how often I get that. We're going to do a trivia about it, so you guys are all going to have the answer in advance. Guess what state Arizona is in the union? We are the 48th state of the union. So living 48, state 48, that's where you are here. We're living in the 48th state of Arizona, and I love Arizona. Love everything about it.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Katie. You are a wealth of knowledge, as is Stuart. And I can't wait till we get to next real estate update.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Robert. It is always a pleasure.
Thank you, Katie.
Network together. It's all about connections. Expand your sphere of influence. Build relationships. Be part of something bigger. Be part of Network Together.
Again, I definitely want to thank my first two guests on the show today, Mr. Stuart Gifter and Miss Katie Evans, both, seasoned, professional, knowledgeable, skillful, and heartfelt real estate agent, real estate investor, here to help you, here to mentor you. I recommend them both wholeheartedly. But next up, I have a gentleman that I am beginning to know, and Stuart Gifter likes to call him the man who owns the bank. And what I'm really happy about is a lot of times we always see the paperwork, of the buying process, but there really is something there that took someone somewhere, some company somewhere, the ability to fund someone else's dream. And I'm really happy today on the show, we have Mike Cogiat on our show. Welcome, Mike. Mike, are you here?
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you for having me. How have you enjoyed the show so
I'm right
far?
here. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
It's been great. I've known Stuart for a long time and done plenty of business with him. And Katie had some really great things to say as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think they both did a great job of talking about how unprecedented it is, for the real estate investor, becoming creative, looking at, the people that are moving into the marketplace, the new technologies that are being used. Like I said, when I was in property management, and it was pretty much a phone book, a yellow, yellow paper with lines on it and a pen, and we'd do our inspections and our calls to see what the comps were with the different community, multi-housing communities around us. We've come a long way since then. You don't know this, but I worked for realtor.com at one time, and actually back then I used to take a flip chart and I was training realtors on what a website and an email was. I mean, certainly we've come a long ways from that as well. And then Katie talking about the homes in the marketplace and the affordability and the supply and demand of the homes,
For
and
sure.
even the rates. But one thing that we have you here, not a lot of times do we actually get to talk to someone who actually works really the magic in the background, and that's the money. At the end of the day, it's all about, do you have the ability to bring people in, fund their dreams, whether it be an investment, some other commercial property, or even a residential home, and you do that, Mike. But, I want you to also go a little bit back like Katie and Stuart did, and, talk to us a little bit about the history, about maybe what the market looked like 2, 3, 5 years ago, and what are you seeing right now that just is radically makes you go, wow, I can't believe we're going through this. Never did I think that we would have this type of marketplace.
Yeah, for sure. I've been doing financing actually in the mortgage business since early 90s, 1994. I started my career with the mortgage industry. I started servicing loans, then originating loans. I worked for a wholesale company for a while there. Then I opened my own brokerage here in Arizona in 2003, and then did conventional financing up until the market crashed and then transitioned into hard money. I found great opportunity with at the time because, as Stuart mentioned before, there was a lot of supply. Um, Demand was still high, but no one had money. So when I first got into financing and mortgage industry, I was told that there's always going to be a need for money. People be needing to move, divorce situations. Someone's always going to need money to buy or refinance a house. But no one ever told me supply would go away. And that's what happened in 2008. The banks all tightened up. No one was lending anything, and everybody wanted to buy homes, which created the opportunity for me. So uh, I went out, created this company, and we collect private money. We private capital along with business partner, and we started lending it that way. So at the time, as Stuart mentioned, people were buying homes at the courthouse steps for $30,000, $40,000 that are now valued at $340,000. So it's come a long way. It's definitely come a long way. And now we're in a place where as we underwrite these loans and we lend on these things, and what I do is I only lend in investor loans, right? Only for investment properties. So it allows us to move quickly. It allows us to service our investor community and get people in and out of their properties really quick. Most of what we do and our clients are in situations 6 months to a year. They're going to get into a property, fix it up, sell it, rehab it, or can do some kind of conversion with it, and then they're going to be out of our loan at least in a year. And it is hard money, a little more spending. You're going to have 12, 13% interest rates, that, and that's not a long-term situation for anybody. But seeing it now, as you had mentioned, we're cautious. We're just careful and cautious. The market is doing what it's going to do with the supply so low. And, Katie mentioned, was it 4,500 homes on the market or 4,000 homes? I looked the other day and I peeled out any condos, townhomes, or attached homes, and that number was 2,600 for single family residences. So unprecedented. People keep moving here, and Katie made a great point. When the market crashed in 2008, all the builders that were getting ahead of themselves stopped on the dime. Some went bankrupt, some weren't around anymore, and they just stopped. And they were too afraid to do that again. And so that hasn't been able to catch up with the amount of people that are moving here. And they're coming here in droves, it seems. Like, I'm a transplant myself. I moved out here in 1997 from the Chicago area. And people just keep coming and coming and coming. And they're driving, there's supply demand, but then also with that, the prices are being driven higher and higher. So we'll see what happens when the rates tick upward, but no one's got a crystal ball.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. Kay Hovanian just bought a plot of land. They're building 80 homes. They bought it for $5.8 million. And a decade ago, I mean, that same plot would probably be, closer to the million mark. I mean, it's amazing. And that's what Kitty and I were talking about a little bit about the new builds that are coming up in our area. Now, one of the things that you touched upon is investor loans. When it comes to investor loans, like a kind of like a pie chart or something, does that mean new investment properties like multi-housing? Does that mean fix and flips? Does that mean, anything in between? What does investor loans mean when it comes to how you fund your investor clients?
Yeah, so our clients buy any, it could be a condo, townhome, a plot of land. It could be construction type financing. It could be a commercial property. It could be multifamily, single family residence, any and all the above. Manufactured housing. Yeah, we did a project for a builder, and a small builder, meaning him and his partner. That's but they bought some land out in Cottonwood, and they 5 manufactured homes on these lots that they were able to subdivide, and the numbers just worked. They had equity, and when I lend, when my company lends, we look at the project, we look at the equity that we're walking into when we give our loan out. So that's a project that comes far and few between, but the numbers all just worked out fine. And of the 5 homes we lent on, the 4th one should close, I believe, next week, and then he's got 1 more to sell, and then he'll be done with that project. So yeah, we lend in all of that at safe levels, though.
Yeah, and one thing that Katie and I talked about was, and we talked about speed. In this environment, it may be different for a mom or a dad or a family getting in and out of the home. They need to sell, they need to buy, they need to move. They're shuffling around. They don't have much inventory to work in. When it comes to the investment lending side of the market, do you see it the same way? Do you feel the pressure of having a great team and having to move at a faster speed than maybe 2 or 3 years ago?
Well, we've always been quick, because that's what I advertise about what we do. We move fast. We could fund a loan. If someone bought a house at the trustee sale, we'd have to fund that within 24 hours, by close the next business days, and that's what we do. So we always would pride ourselves on our speed, but now that's more important than ever. Here's a story, and it's my own story. I wanted to buy some real estate up north, and I wanted to buy it as a vacation rental that I would be able to use from time to time, because my son goes to college up in Flagstaff there. We looked at homes, we made offers with conventional financing, and we couldn't get anything. The market was just bananas up there, just as it is down here. So finally, we found a property that we wanted to make an offer on, and I said, well, it looks like I'm going to borrow from LM2 Investment Group. So I went ahead and got my own hard money loan from my own company and offered to close in 5 days, and I was able to get the house. So that's how I used myself as a tool, and other investors can use hard money that's fast like that as a tool. And then I worked on a conventional refinance after that, and in 30 days, I was into my long-term loan in that aspect. But speed is super important these days. And to take that one step further, the lady we bought this property from had her house listed for sale already, got a contract within a day, but then she had to take her proceeds from that transaction, roll them, and use a 1031 exchange to buy other investment property. And with the market, it is how it is. She couldn't find anything to buy. So she had to cancel that transaction, go back to square one, go find property to buy, get it under contract, and then sell her house, which is almost opposite of what you normally would have to do. So everything's
Right,
turned on
right.
its ear right now. It's a really unique time. Yep, for sure.
And other things, I know you alluded to it a little bit, but for a lot of people, especially for people who are not as familiar with money, and quite frankly, a lot of us are not familiar with money. We have a lot of fear of it. It's like what it seems like for a lot of us, we want it the most, but we also fear it the most. And when you fear something, you usually avoid something. And
Yeah,
but but you take a lot of fear out, and a lot of it really has to do is there's a big difference between working in a hard money environment versus maybe secondary marketplace, where you're buying and selling the money itself and whatnot. Talk people through just a little bit, because when you're doing hard money, I mean, you definitely means that you can bring a lot of speed, but it also definitely means that you have to gain a lot of trust with those that you're partnering with. Definitely. But for those of us who don't understand, what does hard money look like versus regular lending institutions?
right. So hard money, you might hear the private money, not so hard money. It's been advertised many different ways, but it's private capital. The money we lend, these funds aren't bank funds. These are funds that we've raised from individuals. We have 80 different investors that have placed their trust in us to lend their money out on their behalf, so they can earn a rate of return on that investment. Um, that means we, the company, um, take applications, underwrite the loans. We do our own appraisals, meaning it's a desktop appraisal. We go to the MLS. We analyze these properties. We get our own eyes on these properties as far as getting the condition, looking at the comps, and then we make the underwriting decision. We're not following a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac guideline on how to underwrite. Uh, at the end of the day, we have to know that when we lend on a property, if something goes wrong, which happens sometimes, can we take that house and then put it to auction and get back what we've lent on it, right? So one of our underwriting conditions is that. How will we answer that question, right? So if we have a $300,000 home, after it's fixed up, but it's being sold for $200,000, I feel pretty good about lending on that property, right?
Right.
As long as I know the borrower is going to be doing the work on it. So there's that trust factor as well. And then worst case, let's say that I lent $180,000 on that $200,000 purchase, and that person gets hit by a bus and can't pay me. Now I've got a loan for 180. Can I take this asset? Can I take it down to auction? And will someone pay $180,000 for that? Based on the numbers that I just laid out and how other investors would analyze that, the answer to that would be yes. So that would be a loan that I would do.
Yeah.
And it's not 20% down.
Right. Yeah. So some of the other questions that go along with this is, especially for those who are watching the show, and we have a few that are small investors, first time investors interested in investing. You know, um, uh, looking at seeing if it pens out on paper. That's one side of it. But I'm sure there's also kind of the social engineering side. What is their passion? What is their skill set? What is their drive? What is their background, etc. Are there other measurements that you look for when you look at, let's say it's the first loan that you ever do with a person or a company?
Yeah. Yeah, so the very first time we do a transaction with someone, we dig a little bit deeper. We like to get a better feel for where they're coming from. We've had a lot of investors on our books that have been doing loans for 5, 6, 7, 8 years with us. So we have that relationship. They have established themselves with a good history. We may have done a dozen to 20 loans with any one of those individuals. But then we also have a lot that do 1 or 2 of these a year. They have a regular job. They do this on the side. They'll be working evenings and weekends with friends, families, co-investors, venture partners to do most of the work themselves. And we have a lot of those guys. But each one of those, we want to know their story. Like, what are you looking to do? Why are you doing this? How much capital do you have? If things run over budget, what does that look like for you? Because these are all questions and these are all things that happen. And for some, it could be devastating if they don't have the backing or the capital to overcome a brand new roof that had to be put on that they didn't expect, or do a fix and flip type of transaction where they actually lost $5,000 or $10,000. So these are all questions that we ask all up front, get a feel for where they're at. And to be honest with you, for those newer clients of ours, or those that are new to the, I guess, investor game, we will try to dissuade them from making poor decisions. If we look at a transaction, this is what you're buying it for. These are the comps that I see. How much do you think you need to do in the house? And then they give me the laundry list of what they can do. And how much do you think it's going to take to fix all that stuff? They tell me $2,000. Well, I know $2,000 doesn't go very far in repairing a home. So we'll go through those numbers again with them and consider real estate commissions, title fees on the back end, all those things, hard money costs. There's holding costs to that. And then at the end of the day, you're risking $20,000 of a down payment on this project where you might squeeze out $3,000 or $4,000. Is that worth it? And more times than not, it's not for people. So, we'll try to talk them out of those types of transactions and just look at their numbers a little bit better on the next one.
Yeah, and that's what I think is fascinating, because you're not going to get that from someone who's working out of Dallas, Texas, or someone who's working out of an East Coast office or somewhere in Orange County. I mean, it's amazing the detail to the person and the transaction that you have, and that you create space to help the investors, on a lot of intangibles that really the big box banks, they just don't look at all. They don't care to. It's either it meets a certain prerequisite of quality that needs to be met by something somewhere, probably some mathematical algorithm, but you go beyond that. And I think that that's what's really fascinating about what you do, because you're not a paper part of the process. You're actually a personal part of the process. And I think, that's one of the things I wanted to bring out on this show. What the deals you do, matter to you professionally, financially, and personally, because you are involved in really rooting through the deals. And, so I'm fascinated by what you do, Mike, and I'm hoping others are as well that are watching the show. I have the banner scrolling across the screen there. Tell us a little bit about if there's any other ways that you like people getting a hold of you if they want to establish a conversation. I hope you enjoyed yourself on the show here. And I'm, quite frankly, I want to have you back sometime. So tell us how we can get a hold of you.
For sure. Yeah, it's all right there on the bottom. My phone number, 480-677-9854. We do only lend in the state of Arizona. We're licensed to do that here and no other states. So I know you have people all over the country that tune in. You've got my email address there too. And if you just type in LM2 hard money, you'll find us on the web too. That's a real easy way to go. And yeah, I apologize. I'm not in my office right now. I'm in my car because I'm meeting a locksmith at a house that we just foreclosed on that we tried to sell at the auction this morning. So yeah, there's that personal touch. I'm I'm hands-on in all aspects. So.
Well, I really appreciate you being on the show today with Katie and Stuart. I hope you stay a few moments just after the show to do a wrap up. But thank you so much for taking your time, even doing some personal business and being in your car with us today. I appreciate it very much, Mike.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks, Robert.
All right, I want to thank everyone, all my guests on the show, Stuart Gethner, Katie Evans, and Mike Cogiat, for being on the show and being a part of the iEntrepreneur Network radio show. We meet here every Thursday from 2:30 to 3:30 Mountain Standard. Well, actually, Mountain Standard Time this time of year, also known as Arizona Standard Time this time of year. So thank you, everyone, for being here, and look forward to seeing everyone next week. Thank you.
You've been watching the iEntrepreneur Show, a production of the iEntrepreneur Radio Network, with host Robert W. Jones. Join Robert each week as he visits with new and exciting guests who inspire, teach, and mentor entrepreneurs worldwide. Follow Robert each Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and 8:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.